It's playing, Noel. Do you know that? Yeah. Is the camera on? Okay.
We're really doing it, huh?
When's the chorus hitting?
It's coming.
Well, geez. I feel like I'm driving on the coast in California.
Well, this is our 50th coffee buzz, bud.
And we got the gavel.
Here it comes, kid. 50th coffee buzz. Here we go.
Come on. Here, Noel.
Come on, Noel.
Come on, Noel.
All of our family members are listening.
I hope we, that was just phone access. That was Spotify too, right? So that's not copyright stuff.
Yeah, we'll be fine. I don't think that they're going to get us for that one.
Yeah, I don't think they'll care. And
I don't think Starship's going to hear that one.
And Starships is for the 50th. So welcome, congratulations to us. And congratulations to you guys. This is the 50th Coffee Buzz. It's a big moment for us.
It feels good.
It does feel good.
This is a good setting for a 50th.
It is a good setting. I told Nolan this. In my mind, my brain has been programmed to get 100 podcasts and 50 coffee buzzes. And we just got to 50.
How many podcasts you at?
We got 85 out. We got maybe 90. We got 6 waiting to come out, and then we got a bunch of guests. We'll get the 100 in the next 3 weeks.
We'll get to 100.
Yeah, we'll get the 100 done. That's just a big moment.
Did you ever think you'd be a 50-100 guy when you and Dave and Pete got on the mic? Ep 1?
That is wild to think about. It is wild to think about.
Boy, that first one was tough, wasn't it?
It was tough. Well, we replayed it. Well, we stopped a bunch and started a bunch. That was one of the only podcasts we've ever pressed play and then
bailed.
Yeah. We established the bail before the bail was ever established. So that was the first time we ever did that. And then we started having some whiskey because we were nervous. You know?
Well, it was the first time on the mic. I was nervous for my original.
Well, and we were nervous there. We were sitting out at Dave's overlooking Minneapolis.
Yep.
And we were nervous at that one.
Little did we know it'd be one of the most downloaded ones we'd ever do.
I think it is the most downloaded. It is the most downloaded one.
I don't know.
Yours is the most downloaded one. Yeah. Nolan's been giggly tonight. Steve's got him going.
Well, I got Nolan right away because, we committed to coming out. It's the 50th, guys. It's not Friday. Okay, we're going to let you know. It's not Friday.
It's not Friday.
It's a Monday night.
It's late Monday night.
The big 50. We're out here at beautiful Prior Lake.
Yeah.
And it's about 45 minutes further than I thought.
You got to hit it to get it out here. Well, I got done with all my messages and emails sitting in the driveway waiting for you to get here.
Yeah, it was a long drive.
I knew I had time, too.
I had multiple conversations on the way over here.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
but we're here.
We're here.
It's the 50th.
It's the 50th. I'm pumped about it. I'm happy we got 50 coffee buzzes in.
And today we got 50 questions. Go ahead, Noel.
Saddle up. Buckle up. The gavel is now a part of the 50th. So from here on out, if I don't like it,
you get the gab.
I get the gavel. So if I don't like any of the answers, I shut it down.
I like it.
Yep. That's my grandpa's right there.
That thing is sick.
Yep. It is sick. Brought it from Florida a couple weeks ago. Go ahead, Noel.
All right. Do you have a body or are you a body?
I feel like, did you hear the thing through the mic?
I didn't, but I heard him because he's 2 feet from me.
Go up a little bit more there, Noel.
Do you have a body or are you a body?
Man.
So the question was, just in case you couldn't hear it or I just can't hear it through my headphones, do you have a body
or are you a body?
Or are you a body? Do you have a body or are you a body?
I think you have a body.
Mm-hmm.
Right, because your soul is inside of your body.
Well, would you have a soul then and not a body?
Well, let's put it this way. Immediately I thought of the fact that one of the best chirps of all time is, guy's just a body, dude.
Yeah.
So I'm not willing to say that that's what it is.
Yeah, that is true. That is a terrible thing to have said about yourself, that
what's
you're just
like?
A body.
Yeah, what's he like? He's just a body.
He's just a body taking up space.
Yeah, it's like, oh.
That is one of the biggest chirps of all time. That is a big chirp. I say that still sometimes. Yeah. And it's mean almost sometimes.
You're just a body out here. That's super rude to say to somebody.
You're a body. period is that? So wait. So but my question to you is, if you have a soul,
Yep.
is that a soul or is it a body?
I feel like your soul is inside of your body.
Yeah, but so do you have a body or do you have a soul?
So I'm saying I have a body.
Okay.
My soul is inside of my body. I have a body. I am not a body.
So I don't think he's answering it. Is he?
I am answering it. Yeah.
Yeah. So so
I've been on 50 of these. You don't think I know how to answer that?
Fair enough. Fair enough.
better.
Yeah. What were we saying?
Do you have one? So you're saying you do have a body, or you're in a body? Like, so you're saying you are your soul?
I'm in a body, yeah. I just happen to luck out and be in this body.
So the bodies are interesting to me because the body is the only thing that decays. Like I think something that's really started to get to me recently, not get to me in a negative way, get to me in a positive way, is thinking about life differently by disregarding your body in a positive way. So basically looking at that as, am I training to look fit or am I training to be useful? And using my body in that capacity, right? Because ultimately the mind would be the leader of the body, and the soul would be the story of what the body and mind has been through. So essentially I've been thinking about that a lot, of my body is just this thing that I get to see what it's capable of, because it's at the mercy of what my mind perceives it can accomplish. And then through trying those things, I would get deeper into my soul. That's kind of how I've looked at it. So I would look at it as my body is just a decaying thing that's just going to age no matter what. So it's just it's just an irrelevant thing, you know? So it's like, it's just an irrelevant thing. But then my mind is what makes it move and do all these things. And then the soul is part of the experience that I use with my body is at events.
I love it. I mean, it's tough for me. That's a really good question for me, Nolan, because this has been the year that I've really committed to pushing back the clock. Last year, I turned 31. So I've always said 30 is kind of a victory lap. Mm-hmm. You know, people give you a victory lap, and 31 hits, and it's like real deal. Like, you actually wake up and your back hurts. Like, we pulled an 8-8 on Saturday, and my back, I was like limping around just from standing up for 12 hours. Limping around, you know? So it's like, right now I'm very focused on reversing my age.
Sure.
So I'm very aware of that question right now, because I do view my body as decaying and losing, and my mind is not in the same spot and soul are not in the same spot that my body was going, which is why for the last month I've been so much on the other side and made that my number one priority is to not let my body feel old, because my brain and my soul do not feel old at all.
Yeah, and you can keep your body feeling young.
Yeah.
You just have to, it's just hard.
You got to work on it.
You got to discipline it, right?
It's hard.
It is hard. I talked to the high school kids about that today too, because you think about, failure and success does not happen it does not happen at that moment. So your body ultimately could be years of choices that looks like a bad body. And that's years of choices. So you don't know when those choices start. And that's what is kind of trippy to me about the body and the mind. But with the body, it's like you could be starting to get unhealthy 6-7 years before it happens.
Oh, yeah.
And then you look at what we do a lot with kids. I mean, it's wild. Think about how much candy you guys ate when you were younger and how much, I haven't drank a pop or soda. It was Minnesota soda.
We talk about Pops.
I'll have a beer and stuff, but I don't drink. When's the last time anyone's gotten a pop? I can't imagine. I can't think.
Straight up?
Yeah. When have we done that?
I don't even drink mixed drinks anymore.
Right. Yeah, me neither. So it's but think about that. When we were little, I used to drink a case of Coke.
Oh, yeah.
Every Saturday night and play video games.
We literally just talked about this in my house. When's the last, how crazy would it be to go into a gas station at this point and be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get a Code Red.
Yeah. Oh.
Right now, I'm just gonna crush a Code Red. That would ruin my day at this point.
I'm gonna get a Surf. Was Surf one of them?
Surge
was a
backbreaker.
Yeah.
Coke, backbreaker.
Yeah.
All of these pops.
I mean, we used to get a surge and a jerky and go ding dong ditching for hours.
100%.
You know, and I never got caught, but I never went up first.
Yeah, you just got to be faster than the slowest guy.
So surges, code reds, those are no-nos. Let's get rid of them.
So I think we're agreeing that basically your body is just a representation of
choices. Yeah, 100%.
But you are not.
You are not the
a
body. No.
What action in your life has had the longest lasting consequences?
What action in your life has had the longest lasting consequences? Positive or negative? Just anyone?
What individual action in your life? What a great question.
Yeah. You know, a lot of it has to go with, I think a lot of it for the sporting career has to be like choices that you made, schools you went to.
Well, I was about to say the number one thing I think is being a little, middle class white kid from Minnesota and up and going to Chicago and going to school in downtown Chicago. Like, I lived around home. My sisters went to school that weren't very far from home. We never traveled as a family. Mm-hmm. So like for 4 years, I was in the thick of it. And that that changed me forever.
Millions of people.
Sure. Millions of people
Melting
everywhere.
pot of people.
Melting pot of people. Yeah, I'm from like Apple Valley, Minnesota. Like at that time,
Yeah.
it wasn't a melting pot.
Yeah.
So it was a huge adjustment for me. It was the first time I realized the world was bigger than my world. Mm-hmm. And ever since then, now I just have always carried with me that the world is bigger than my world. No matter how well connected I think I am, I'm not. There's so much going on.
Oh, yeah.
I had to go to Chicago to figure that out. I had to. And that's why when people talk about, I want to stay close to home for school, I go, well, that's cool, but like, why? Like, what's your answer? Mm-hmm. Well, I want to be with my family. Well, if you're driving 3 hours, going to Chicago, if you can get back on a flight, you're back home in 2 hours.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? So this is 2020 now.
Yeah.
Like, we should want to go farther away. I would challenge people if they're looking at schools and they're worried about it, go somewhere where you can't come home, where you have no safety net. I had no safety net.
Yeah, you were forced to survive.
It changed everything for me.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I would think right away like those decisions are crucial because just you're just that decision you make is so difficult. It's so it's everything. It's the people you're gonna go like because you went through that survival with that group of dudes. So those group of dudes that you're friends with are just different than any other group of friends.
For sure, and it's crazy because that's the only group of friends that I'm still not connected to on a daily basis.
Yeah.
That part's tough.
Yeah.
The reverse of that.
Yeah, that's weird too. I mean, I've talked a lot about this too. I stay in touch with my high school or my college friends. I try to as much as I can, but I haven't lived at home. I mean, I've lived all over the place, so I don't even know at this point. I just been, but I don't know. My high school friends and I are pretty close. College friends and I are pretty close. So I still have that going with me. I think the thing that's hitting me when I think back to it, I had an elbow surgery. I had my elbow surgery when I was 19. For some reason, that was that plot of adversity was probably the most advantageous thing for me. And I think back to that because I had a choice on if I should get the surgery or not. And it was kind of like one or the other. It was kind of, there was no medium ground. You either get the surgery and you do everything you can to get back, or you don't get the surgery and you just kind of dwindle away and try to make do with what you had. So I got the surgery, and that was just a really cool thing for me, that decision. I was 11. How old am I? 30? Oh, I'm 30.
You're 30. You're on the victory lap.
Yeah, so that was 11 years ago. That was 11 years ago, and I can truthfully say that one decision, that level of commitment that I had to make to return, that level of commitment changed my life for the last 11 years.
Well, and it's a choice like that. Like, it ends up being positive, but there's no way that. I mean, I shouldn't say no way, but most likely it's going to be something that you have to struggle for or show a little bit of grit with. Mm-hmm. Because it has to change you, right? Mm-hmm. Having a great experience or having something handed to you is probably not life-altering unless it was something where you were in a hole and you experienced something like, I don't even know what that would be like. Like what? You go and you see something and you go, wow, I want to be like that.
Yeah, there was on Impact Theory has a really cool podcast. You guys ever seen that with Tommy Baliu, I think his name is? So he had a guest on there, and he was talking about your brain, and he was saying how, and I know we talked about 25, kind of your brain sort of locking itself in at 25 and those sort of things. And so he was saying that there was a lot of stuff backing up that once you reach adulthood, you don't change unless you hit rock bottom. So he was saying that like tragedy is the only thing that changes the trajectory of how you live. And I think that's true. Like when you really look at that, I mean, think about how many people we know as we get older, and even yourself, like ways you get stuck in your ways, you get stuck in your choice making, your habits, and you know that it's bad, but it just gets harder and harder as you get older to reframe that. When you're like younger, there's so much opportunity to learn things. Like there's so much opportunity to screw up and then adjust or make a new habit or do something new, because every year is so different. And you're so young, like look at when you're a young kid in school, like every year is different teachers, you move up every 2 to 3 years, you go to different schools.
Well, and there's no time limit, right? At that point in your life, there's no expiration date.
Right.
Like death's not even a thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're just like living.
Yeah, exactly. And it's cool and it's timeless, right?
Isn't that crazy?
And then when you do kind of transition over and you think back to some hardcore adversity things, like you don't really shift. Again, this was kind of coming from that podcast, but I thought about that and I agreed with that. I was thinking to myself how you won't change your decision making processes or the people you hang out with or whatever unless you get to a rock bottom. Now, I'm not saying that everything has to be rock bottom to have some great thing. You could be nails and what have you.
Yeah.
Or made great choices or had great mentors or blah, blah, blah. But pretty much every human on the planet is going to hit adversity. And then depending on how you perceive that adversity, I would imagine has a lot to do with the trajectory of what your life is. So I would say, that to that question, I would imagine the listeners even would think to themselves positively pretty much came from something that sucked or that was bad in the positive way that they changed. Like think about people who run marathons and the reasoning behind that, or people who get sick and then they do that, or someone they know, you know what I mean? And so tragedy has a funny way of shifting our lives forever.
Oh, for sure. Tragedy or hate, too.
Yeah.
I mean, hate, it's just a true fact. Like, hate is a never-ending fuel source.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It sucks.
Yeah.
It sucks, but it gets you going. Like, if you hate something or hate someone and whatever you're trying to do is in spite of that person, like, hate is a pretty powerful thing, too.
Well, it just clouds I would look at hate as a positive in a way of sparking, like, movement or motivation and stuff. But then over time, it just gets cloudy, and then that would go back to if you hate for so long, now you've been hating for 20 years.
Yep.
And it's like, well, how do you break that framing? How do you break that hatred? And that's where it's weird to think about.
Well, it's interesting because I agree externally, but internally, I feel like I've changed tremendously in the last year and a half, and there wasn't necessarily a big bang moment. I feel like it's been a culmination of many moments that have led me to that. But it's making me think, Nolan, it's making me think, and I'll think about it on the 45-minute drive home.
You'll have time.
I'll have time.
Yeah.
Is like what ultimately made me make that shift from being very immature and selfish thinking to just being like content with what I believe in and who I am. I didn't have anything crazy happen to get me to that point.
Well, and when you did shift, I think what I also think is really weird is how hard your shifting was on everybody else, too.
Yeah.
Because that's a hard thing too.
For sure.
And then people because they use you to an extent for themselves. I did it, right? So It was like, oh shoot, I don't want him to do that. Like, as in, like, what will I do? So then, I mean, think about that in terms, like we tell guys all the time too. Think about people who have a dream. It pretty much the first thing, that's the 3-ring circus. You know, like pretty much the first thing that suffocates you is your surroundings. Because I remember everyone would chirp you and be like, "What are you doing, dude?" Or "No, let's go out." Or
Yeah.
"What are you thinking?" Or "Why? You know, why are you? You're said, oh, you turned into an adult in a day."
Yeah.
Like all those jokes, right? But then at the same time, like that's just, I would imagine, all of our needs.
Yeah.
Or people you knew as needs. Like they felt like they were losing a part of them because you were shifting.
Yeah, it's just weird. Like I'm deep in thought. This is one of those moments on the buzz here that the three of us probably know what's going on more than everybody else. Just like we're talking almost personally.
Yeah.
You
well,
know what
sometimes
I mean? Like,
I always forget that we're even on these things.
I do too. I do too. But it's great. I mean, basically what we're talking about is just the shift of, you know, the boys going from being the boys to the boys being adults. And it happened pretty rapidly.
Yeah.
You know, it was a pretty quick shift.
I think it dominoed affected through.
Yeah. But it's been awesome. It's been like a really cool thing. And that's what I think has had everyone that's been a part of this stick together, is that everyone involved is like an alpha personality. Mm-hmm. And so like we're all continuously pushing each other to take that next step, which I think is super cool.
Yeah.
Because it's like a leapfrog effect, you know?
Yeah.
Somebody does something really good and those people go, okay, like that's the new standard. That's how the group works. Like, let's go like that. Mm-hmm. I think that's super sweet. So if you're in a group of people and they're not doing these things that are extremely challenging and they're not taking the next step and they're not evolving and they're not going, if you have a friend who's like, he's been the same his whole life from a everything standpoint, you got a problem.
Oh, yeah.
Like people should be evolving and growing and you should be curious, talking to your own best friends about where are you at? Like, what are you thinking? Like, what's your next move? Like, how are you doing? Because they should be pulling you with them
For sure.
within that friendship.
And that's where someone who stays the same for so long, that's that point, is they wouldn't make a move unless something rock bottom hits them.
Sure.
You know, this is like people don't get healthy until they're tremendously sick. You know, like people don't get better until they're worse. You know, like it's a weird thing that life has a funny way of doing that. Like it has a funny way of, if you're not evolving, then something's going to hit you in the face at some point. And if that doesn't work, then that might be bad.
Yeah, no, I would say that me and Mart are both saying don't be afraid of evolving, because it's scary.
Oh yeah.
But don't be afraid of it. Don't be fear struck by it. Like embrace that scared. It's scared is different than fear, right? Being nervous and scared.
You're going to need people around you if you're going to do the unknown.
For sure.
You have to know other people are doing it too. You have to know that they went into the abyss and we're okay.
Yep.
You know, and that's part of mirroring and mimicking and all that sort of thing. Because you're going to talk to other people who have had experiences, right? Like if you aren't willing to go into the world of the unknown or take a chance on yourself, well, it's hard for someone to have that conversation. If you are like that, you can't talk to that other person.
Yep.
You know, so there's no connective. Like that's where we get into those surface level conversations. And it's like, well, if I respect this person of the way they, or admire this person for the way they live their life, like I'm going to go into the depths of their experience because I'm curious. So I'm learning through that person or these people. And so I'll be curious enough to ask them very good questions. And because they've lived it, they're passing that on. And that's how you have that's where I would imagine all of the highest level of knowledge as a human to me would be through other humans. And the only way you get at the table to have conversations with people is depending on how you live your life. I mean, just look at how you live your life. Primarily the people you have dinner with live your life like that. Mm-hmm. Or their life like that.
Very cool. I think we could talk about that for a couple hours.
Yeah, gavel. Wow, this was a long one so far.
Well, we just started talking.
Gavel.
You know, we were just talking to each other.
Yeah, we were. Whatever. The heck.
It's the 50th.
It's the 50th, man.
We're rolling.
We're hanging out. Yeah.
Are you ever able to understand somebody else's point of view?
Yeah, I feel like that's one of my best talents, truthfully, communication wise. Mm-hmm. But I've worked on thinking that way. I think it's a skill. You have to
You have
acquire
to.
that skill. It's not just something you're inherently
That's
born
basically empathy, right?
But can you ever be like truly know what they're going through, like what someone else is?
Well,
going
that's
through?
the objective of empathy, and you'd have to practice that skill.
with. Yeah, well, not what they're going through. You'll never know exactly what they're going through because every little thing along their journey is going to affect that thing specifically to them, just like it would to you, even if it's the same exact event. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's more so understanding a frame of mind and going, okay, where are they coming from? What angle are they coming from? How do I pay attention to their facial cues and their hand gestures and the quivers in their voice and
tones,
how they're
yeah.
speaking to me? Like, is this important to them? Is this something that they're just trying to get out of? I love that. That's, to me, what you're saying right there is the game of life. Because I've always looked at life as just this big game,
Yeah, oh, yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
we're all just playing this big game of I know this and you know that and I'm doing this and here's where I am. And it's this big portrayal, but that's why I like Vince Vaughn so much, right? Is because all his characters, like that's kind of what he plays up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He always plays up like the old salesman from the 50s role.
Yeah.
You know, who gets to know you and shakes your hand and makes you feel comfortable. Like that's a skill that nobody has anymore. And I honestly think watching Vince Vaughn movies made me start thinking that way and relating to people and asking them questions. Nobody asks anybody questions anymore. Everybody always comes in and says, here's how I'm doing. Here's what's going on with me. Can I tell you about this? Yeah, here we go.
Yeah.
All right, I can learn more about you, you telling me about you than I tell you about me. We all knew what I
don't
had.
know, but I was into it.
I get really passionate about that because I wish people would spend more time doing that. Because you can get so much further in your relationships if you understand other people's perspectives
Right.
and you think about finding solutions instead of being right.
Well, it's just, it's so hard, man. And it is hard because you have to, I would say the hardest thing that I would struggle with in that, and it's a skill, that's why I agree of the skill set of it, because you actively have to put aside any thinking of yourself, you know, and you have to get out of that frame, you know, and it's hard because a lot of conversations take place of you saying something and then waiting until the person's done talking so you can get back to your side of saying, right? And this is why, like, conversations that you don't see with people a lot, it's like, well, if you don't see people that often, and when you get together, you're just trying to get your side of it done and then be super clear with what you're doing, but then also trying to listen to them and then try to respond again. Like there's so much stuff going on. So I think that does take time to see it from other people's perceptions and lens. Like that has to take time. Like that has to be conscious effort. I think the term of that is actually termed theory of mind, which is seeing it from somebody else's mind, which is, I think, is a capability that we can acquire. I know that that's like a very hard thing. And I think that's essentially what empathy is trying to empathize instead of show sympathy or whatever towards them. Like, I empathize for you, so I'm in your shoes, which I would say very admirable, right? Like that would be a skill worth. And then also take away to just the positive side of it. Think about how powerful that would be if you could see from other people's perceptions, because now you would have power.
Oh yeah.
You know, and a way of controlling systems and whatnot, and controlling how culture is driven and how communication is driven. I mean, that would be insane. You would have the most power at the seat, at the table, for sure.
Well, here's a fun little game you can play if you feel like you get bulldozed by somebody. Yeah. This is a classic move that I've learned. It's worked really well for me. Find a topic that maybe there's a little debate between you and somebody else. And it's not one, you have an opinion, but it's not a diehard opinion, right? It's not all in. And this is someone who's a bulldozer. Yeah. Right when you say, hey, I would do option A, and they go, why wouldn't we do option B? Option B is way better. Just go like this. Okay. Rattles
That's
them.
Nolan, dude.
Oh man, I do it all the time. Because then they were like all geared up for this big argument in their head that they've made up in their head that this is a big debate or a big argument.
Right.
And you just go, oh, all right. They go, well,
I like option A.
Well, what about option A? Maybe option A is okay.
Well, maybe I spoke too soon.
You know, but
I gotcha.
I've seen that happen so many times because you can tell when somebody right out the gates is just like, I'm going to be right now. And it's just like, all right, well, there's no point in doing this.
That's why they made
the gavel. Go ahead, try that one on for size.
Try that on
DM
for
me,
size.
let me know how it goes.
What has been your favorite podcast moment this far?
Great question for the Big 50.
Is this the final
The
question?
final question.
Oh, that's good.
There's been a
How
lot
has this
of them.
been? So have we done all right?
We've done, yeah, it's been great.
Oh, right on. What has been the top? Noah loves it. Noah's just a happy guy, and the top podcast moment over the last couple of years.
Can we say some podcasts too? Does it have to be Coffee Buzz, or can we say some?
No, podcast.
To get the juices flowing. For me personally, Cody Burkhart was a really fun one because Harv was so interested in everything that was going on, and he should have been. Like Cody, like all the stuff you said was dynamite, but like I was so interested in wanting to know how accurate Armageddon was. Because I just wanted to know. I love that movie, and I was just like right away when you said, "Here's who we're going to talk to." I wasn't going to be able to focus until I got how accurate is the movie Armageddon, you know? And that was a big one. I really enjoyed that one. That was fun for me.
I think I remember how funny that was too. And that was a long one too.
Oh yeah.
One of my favorite podcast moments was when Steve and I, when Scott Carney made us watch him, but we couldn't watch him.
Yep.
And we had to look at the computer screen.
Yeah.
And you and I had to sit shoulder to shoulder.
And we couldn't see him.
We couldn't see him.
Yeah.
That was pretty funny.
That was wild.
I thought that was pretty funny.
That was wild.
I thought that one was pretty funny.
And he was telling crazy stories, or he was probably looking at our facial expressions, and we just had no idea what was going on.
Yeah, that. I thought about that one a lot. I mean, the sauna ones are pretty funny. We
had a really good one night at Fisher's place in
Was that the
Egan.
poop story?
What's that?
The poop story?
That was the poop story one.
that was
That's
fun.
gonna be my favorite.
Yeah, that was the poop story
Where
one.
Dave starts it out and goes, "Marty, Steve, good morning."
yeah. Oh yeah. Dave
was
pooped
funny.
his pants mowing the lawn, right?
Yeah, mowing the lawn. He had his lawn mowing shoes on.
That was all time. That was a great moment. Tony getting on there up for the first time. And just right afterwards, we got off, and Harv was like, "That's the last one you're ever going to be on."
Yeah, so mad at him. I was so mad at him.
Harv was so mad at him.
I was so mad at him.
And for anyone listening, Harvey and Tony arguing with each other is like pure gold. I just sit there and just poke each of them to try to get them going on each other. That's a great part. There have been a lot, man. There have been a lot of really, really funny moments. Nolan putting the lion mask on was a really fun day.
Really funny.
Where we had him doing the Mr. Wilson bit. We didn't want to have anybody see his face.
He wore a lion's mask.
Yeah, Nolan had a lion's mask on.
Where we wore the Hawaiian shirts one was funny. Where we drove back to your house really fast to get the podcast in, so we were all running. Remember, we were all driving down the streets going, "Sandlot, Sandlot."
Oh, yeah.
Get back to the Sandlot.
Oh, yeah.
That was funny.
Steve's wig.
Steve's wig was hilarious.
We had a wig episode.
War Stick Night.
War Stick Night was a good
Didn't
night.
you think that we weren't on for a while of that one?
I don't know.
The wig one was hilarious.
That wig has provided hundreds of laughs.
That's one of the funniest things you got.
Oh, yeah. I'll just put it on around the house on
Yeah.
a random Friday with nothing going on and just wear the wig.
Yeah, the wig was hilarious, and with the robe, and you had the robe
Oh,
on.
yeah. I had the Hugh robe going.
Yeah. The Hawaiian shirts are always funny. The long one we had with Orf, was that over Christmas?
That was a great time.
You were smoking a cigar for that one or something?
I don't remember when it was exactly, but that was a really long one, too.
Really long, like 2 hours.
We were
plus.
just hanging out.
Yeah, we were just talking. We were eating cookies.
And that was like a big moment for us because we had wine glasses in it.
Yeah,
And we
cookies.
were like
it was Christmas.
30 years old, and
I
we were
saw-
like, I don't know about the wine glasses.
I swear it was Christmas. Yeah, I know.
It was right around
And the
that
wine
time.
glasses. Yeah, that was funny.
I mean, I think that we've had a blast on this thing.
Yeah,
I mean, I hope people know that we look forward to doing these, at least I do,
tremendously.
more than anything that we do, truthfully,
Yeah,
because
they're
it's fun.
They are fun.
And it's engaging, and there's nothing cooler for me than I know we joke around a lot about how nobody listens. I'm shocked at how many people come up to me and talk to me about things that we talk about on here.
Yeah.
It like blows my mind. I think it's really cool. And I hope that people are answering these questions on their own. Because someone asked me, like, how do you find time to do those?
Yeah.
And I go, well, I'll make time to do them because they make me better. You know, they challenge me. They make me think.
Yeah.
And they make me say my thoughts to the whole world. Whoever wants to listen to it can listen to it. It opens you up for massive amounts of criticism, massive amounts of praise, massive amounts of opportunity. Maybe you lose opportunities for some of the things you say on here. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, I think that's really cool. And this is something that when we die, we at least have.
Yeah.
You know, let's say I walk out of here and I crash and I'm dead. Mm-hmm. At least you guys will be able to have nights where you go back and listen to me talking on this thing. Mm-hmm. Or if
we'll laugh.
Yeah, and we'll laugh about it.
Yeah.
And we'll say, oh, those were the good times, the 50 good times.
No, I agree with that. And, you know, and you do get nervous. Like, I remember, I don't really get nervous anymore, but I used to get really nervous, you know. And I remember I've talked to Nolan about this too, about how, I mean, I used to have a lot of trouble having stuff of me on camera in front of people, you know, or being on social media. Like, that used to give me a lot of, I don't know why. It just used to really make me nervous. I didn't like it. I could never sleep really at night. But it is like, but the thing that always made it enjoyable was you do get to learn from Cody Burkhardt or Scott Carney or Mackenzie or all these athletes or business people and coaches. Like, you do get to learn from a lot of amazing people. And I mean, we've learned some. I mean, I've cried on the podcast. Remember the ones I cried on that one?
Oh yeah, Riley
Tincher.
Riley Tincher's.
He got me to cry.
On. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, like, there's been some emotions. We've made really good friends out of it. I mean, we've been able to go places. People have come to see us. There's been a lot of cool things. And then, you know, I think it's important too of what you just said about people listening to it, because people, they send me and they send us all messages, right? And we get random emails every now and then from people, and that's really cool. And I think for anyone who's listening to this, I would even just say thank you, because it's something that we didn't know. It was cool to get like one listen at first, you know, and then you get a couple hundred, and then you get a few thousand, and then you do a few hundred of them, and you do them across the country, and it's a cool thing. And then we have memories, and then you learn a lot, and you get to hang out with your buddies. This Coffee Buzz is kind of the thing that, you know, you and your buddies are getting together for. So that's really important too. And then just knowing that people get a kick out of it, or they learn something, or maybe they get questions that are good for them, or something that's fun for them. And so, I mean, for people who are listening, I would just say thanks too. Like, that's really cool that you guys even press play. So thank you for even doing that and just listening to a couple guys who are chirping that up. I think that's really cool for them.
And I think the thing that I'm most proud of on this, Noel and Mart, truthfully, full disclosures, we've always just been ourselves. We've never, it's a fun thing because you just answer it truthfully. And I think that's why we've been able to relate to so many people, because they can tell we're just hanging out, you know. We're just like asking questions and curious and trying to get better. And when we get people on that are just like that, it's extremely fun. And it's sweet to be able to go to these places now all over the country and be like, hey, maybe we meet up with this person.
Yeah.
Or, hey, maybe we go connect with this human.
Dude, how did we forget about the airport coffee buzz in Philadelphia?
Oh, man, don't bring up Philadelphia, dude.
We did a podcast in the airport.
That was ridiculous. That was one of the only times that I was truly nervous while we were doing it.
That was fun.
I was like, we can't do this.
And we did it.
Oh, man, we did it. We did it, but boy, was it tough.
Yeah, it was. Well, in 2020, let's make another 50. Let's get another 100. Let's keep traveling the world and keep learning and living and having fun and answering questions and sharing in good conversations and good memories and heck, I don't know, being better at being a little bit less wrong. You know, we're wrong. It seems like we're wrong all the time. So let's try to be a little bit less wrong this time and see if we can figure it out. And love you guys for listening, and everyone out there. If we haven't met you, hopefully someday we do, and we get to shake your hand and maybe have a drink with you or a dinner or something and a coffee or whatnot, and get to have a fun time.
Maybe at 100 we'll have intros and a soundboard and the whole bit. That'll be the goal.
We had a music for this one. So
we
that
did.
Was cool. All right, gavel out.
Cheers.
Cheers.